Hello ballers and welcome to your 5.2 update for the Brewmaster Monk. Ballers, what's going on? It's Preacher and it's Brewmaster Monk time. It is. It's Brewmaster Monk time. We're having a continuous tank week this week, updating everything for patch 5.2, and now it's time for that brand new class. Oh yeah, you've all seen this around your classes before. It is, of course, the Brewmaster Monk. Gotta say, before we even get into this is one of the most exquisitely designed classes I've ever played. It's a joy. An absolute joy to play. This class is obviously covered in various advantages that the older tank classes don't have, and in fact makes them look sort of antiquated and old and nasty, and they need a little bit of help because this class was designed with the active mitigation model in mind. The new way of tanking brought in Mists of Pandaria, and of course was designed with vengeance in mind and the fact that tanks were going to do a lot of damage. As such, the old Brewmaster Monk, the old Brewmaster Monk is in fact incredible at both damage and controlling damage incoming. It's a symphony, if anything, of cooldowns and management that really make them amazing. And once you master them, they do take a lot of micromanagement. Once you actually get used to micromanaging how this class works, you're almost unstoppable. You realistically are almost unstoppable. There is no class in the game right now that can manage incoming damage quite like the Brewmaster Monk. So, only changes for patch 5.2. You can still refer to your 5.1 guide up in the corner there to really bring in the basic playstyle, okay? I would really recommend you use that guide for the playstyle and the buttons you should be pressing and so on and so forth. That hasn't really changed. The big change was, of course, our level 30 talents became free. That was the big change, okay? They became free instead of costing us anything. So you have a choice here of Zen Sphere, Chi Burst, and Chi Wave. Chi Wave is generally the one you want to go for. Now, some people see this as free DPS. Yes, it is free DPS. You cause a chi energy to flow through friend or foe, dealing nature damage or healing. Bounce up to 7 times to the nearest attack within 20 yards. As a tank, you generally want to cast this on yourself or an ally, and it gets a lot of bounces, does a tremendous amount of healing. Really is quite cool. That was the big change for the Brewmasters in 5.2. Now, what am I going to focus on this video? Gearing your Brewmaster. This is possibly the most controversial and at the same time the most interesting aspects of this class. It's actually something that's a little bit tricky. A lot of people are looking to high-end Brewmasters for how the hell do I gear this bad boy up? How the hell do I gem my guy? How do I reforge my guy? What the hell do I do? Universally, hit and expertise are godly, okay? Universally, hit and expertise, because all our active mitigation comes from the idea of being able to land our attacks and generate chi. Chi, of course, are resources. You can see that here. I do recommend you roll with Ascension for tanking. It allows you to plan things and, of course, be better prepared to deal with Purifying Brutal Guards whenever necessary. This, again, all bears in mind that you've seen the 5.1 guide where I cover everything about the Brewmaster and how it works. So, gearing. Originally, it was like haste, 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 haste. Now, agility is straight up our best stat. I don't want to show you that quite yet. Agility is universally our best stats, okay? But of course, secondary stats get a much bigger budget, which means with gemming, we're generally mixing and matching with what we're doing there, okay? Don't worry about it too much. Just be aware that, yes, agility gear is our best stats. That's fine. But now we're looking to what we're going to gem. Some people say haste. Some people say you should go for mastery. Some people say you should go for crit. All of them are correct, and in most situations, a lot of them are wrong. This depends on what you are doing. It really genuinely does. It depends on what the hell you are doing. Now, this is because of the interaction between how the secondary stats work with various talents, and you have to bear in mind, you guys know I don't like it, but Brewmaster Monks, they do a hell of a lot of damage, and that is something we just cannot ignore. We just cannot ignore that aspect of it, okay? Alright. Firstly, haste. Haste is amazing because it allows us to generate more chi, which allows us to use a lot more abilities and makes us better able to use guard, more purifying brews, and so on and so forth. So, haste generally considered as an overall great stat. So why are you talking about crit? Crit enables us to generate a lot more elusive brew. Surprisingly enough, Okay, surprisingly enough. Surprisingly enough. Critical strike rating is the best avoidance stat for a monk. Your auto-attack critical strikes grant you up to 3 charges of Elusive Brew. Based on weapon speed, use Elusive Brew to consume the charges. Yes, the best avoidance stat. Ain't no dodging, ain't no parrying. It's critical strike rating. So you'll notice that the big monks, the big badass monks, all doing sort of Lei Shen heroic, who hits like a general truck, who is in fact the big quarter-pounder double cheeseburger that's going to stand all over your balls. They're all gemming critical strike rating. And you're thinking, are you just trying to cheese the DPS there? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. They are generating a hell of a lot more Elusive Brew, meaning they are literally dodging and dodging and dodging all the fucking time. Critical strike rating, best avoidance stat. Best overall stat, haste. Best overall stat, haste. But again, it depends on what you are doing. So you can see for me there, where I've been doing some various fights that involve a lot of physical damage, which is generally what I'm rolling with right now. I've actually gone for agility critical strike rating there, and where it's been possible, I think I've got something here. Maybe, maybe not. I have gemmed pure critical strike rating. If I had a yellow gem, there we go. A couple of yellow slots there. I've got pure critical strike rating. That is generating me a shit ton of Elusive Brew charges and keeping my dodge nice and high. Now I know some of you are going to be like, well, I roll with haste, I roll with this, I roll with that. It's fine. Depends on the encounter you're doing, okay? Depends on the encounter you're doing. I'm here to tell you these are the facts. The best straight-up avoidance stats in this game for Brewmaster Monks are critical strike rating. The best overall stats to preventative damage is haste, or is it? I'm blowing your mind already, I know. It's a confusing way to look at the game. I agree. But this is the way it works. Now, mastery. What does our mastery do? That's what you're asking me. What does our mastery do? Preacher, 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 preacher. As soon as I can find it. Where are you, Mastery? There you are. Elusive Brew. Increase your stagger amount by an additional 6.3%. Now, surprisingly enough, the choice between Haste and Mastery can in fact be as simple as are you doing 10 or 25 man content. Which it shouldn't do, but it does, okay? There's a lot of math to support this. I've read some numerous things over the past few days about Brewmasters. It's not easy to find good, coherent information about the Brewmasters because their secondary stats power really changes encounter to encounter. Okay, this is why. So you guys need to understand this. Haste is generally the way to go if you're rolling 10 man, which most of you are. Unless it's something that really hits super hard, like Lei Shen Heroic, where critical strike rating becomes in very, very powerful, then you are generally going to roll with haste. However, in a 25 man encounter, especially 25 heroic, where you're looking at increased levels of boss damage due to the increased levels of healers, and also how much damage you're going to be staggering resulting from that increased amount of damage, then actually Mastery pulls way ahead, to the point where people are reforging everything away from haste to have a much better Mastery, and also then resulting in much less damage taken compared to any other tank in the game. So what am I telling you? What is the answer? What is the solution? The solution is it depends. As much like the Prot Warrior, it depends on what encounters you are doing and what are you rolling with. Everything works in some fashion. Which one is the best depends, okay? You're not going to be the worst tank in the universe rolling pure haste. If you're doing a big physical damage, you're not going to be the worst tank in the universe rolling with a lot of critical strike rating. And if you're rolling with a lot of mastery in Series 25 heroic encounters, you are not going to be the worst tank either. It's not the way it works. They are very much in tune with how the encounters work, built around this active mitigation model. Pretty crazy, but not very helpful to you guys. So what should you do? If you are new to the game and you're just trying out your Brewmaster, go with haste. In general, you're going to be fine. Okay, the difference is marginal here and there. Okay, if you roll with pure haste, you're gonna be okay. Nobody's gonna come and hurt you. No one's gonna attack you or anything like that. If you are more specific and you're a higher end Brewmaster and you're starting to come into your own and you're starting to think about your encounters, you're not super terrified about dying anymore, and you're really starting to care about the marginal differences in damage taken and how important it is to prevent certain encounters happening, Then you're going to start thinking about critical strike rating, and you're certainly going to start considering mastery for certain fights. You are. But you'll know that when you get there, guys. In general, I'm telling you, if you're new to Brewmaster, you're a mid-level Brewmaster, go ahead and stack some haste. You're going to be fine. You're going to be absolutely fine. No one's going to shout at you. No one's going to have any trouble. Don't be too overly armorying top-end players who are swapping and certainly have the goal to swap all their gems on demand, all that kind of thing, depending on their encounter. It's not uncommon to see some Brewmasters actually going and completely re-gemming once they reach certain fights because it is vastly superior to do so. That's going to happen. The basics of the gearing. Hit and expertise. Get that up there. You need your encounters to, you need your ability to land. You need your keg smash landing. You need to have that jab landing. You need these abilities to generate your chi. The next thing we're going to talk about is some gameplay, so I'm going to talk over that with some gameplay, okay? I hope that helps you with your gearing. I know I was trying to blow your mind a little bit there, but quite simply, it's really important that you understand what encounter you're doing and the benefits to it. So praise that ox, and let's jump into some gameplay. Alright, so while we're talking about some gameplay, gonna pick up on a few hints and tips and a few of the pitfalls that a lot of the Brewmasters fall into, especially the early Brewmasters. Firstly, let's talk obviously about stagger and purifying brew. This is kind of one of the most major aspects of the Brewmaster and what makes them so powerful. Doesn't matter what hits you. Doesn't matter if it's physical, magical, mental. Doesn't matter what kind of damage that thing's hitting you with. You can purify that bad boy away and you're in good shape. Nothing ever hits a monk full on. One of the most powerful aspects of the class is nothing ever hits a monk full on. They are designed to never be completely hit in the face. They just don't care, and we can also purify that damage away. But a lot of people follow the sort of traffic light system, which is not a mistake by any means. You see green, I've got a green stagger. That's fine. Alright, green stagger, woo! Then it goes yellow, and we instantly go, holy shit. Holy fucking Jesus, what the hell do I do now? And then it goes red and we're crying and we're bad players and we're going to die any moment because we've got a red stagger. Not really the case, okay? One of the big pitfalls that a lot of new Brewmasters run into, including myself when I first started playing, was that I assume yellow is, oh god, you should be purifying this away because it's about to go red! And we don't want that to happen. We don't want that to happen. The thing is, purifying brew costs a chi. Alright, it's going to set you back a chi. And if we start using it all the time, like every time it goes yellow, we can actually start using a hell of a lot of chi on purifying that bad boy away when it's actually not that dangerous, okay? It's not that dangerous. If you don't know how your stagger works, a green stagger means it's less than 3% of your HP, okay? The stagger dot is less than 3% of your HP. Yellow means it's somewhere between 3 and 6. Now, bear that in mind. It's somewhere between 3 and 6. There's a variably large amount of difference between a 3.1% stagger and a 6% dagger. Dagger? What? A 6% stagger. So it's kind of important that you actually understand where your stagger amount is. You kind of need to be tracking this. Red, of course, is get it away. It's somewhere over 6% of your HP. It's bad. Get rid of it. But yellow gives us some leeway. Sure, you're actually doing a favor to your healers by purifying away medium staggers, but you also need to be aware of how much that is, because the problem we run into is we're purifying away medium staggers a lot, thinking we're being absolute ballers, at the expense of our chi, and we could start using a lot of chi there, which then results in us losing shuffle uptime, which comes from our blackout kick, which is also bad, and also the ability to guard on demand. Guard is super powerful. Now, this leads us on to guard, so I just want to put that in your mind, is that purifying brew constantly as soon as it goes yellow, while not a super terrible thing, can actually lead you to bad situations in extreme gameplay, where we start getting up to being a really good Brewmaster. That's not how we really want to play. We want to be aware of how much our stagger is, alright? Guard. Guard, its baseline is absolute dog shit. Okay, it feels like the absorb shield, right? People think of it like shield absorb for our shield barrier, I should say, for our prot warriors, as some super awesome, I'm going to absorb a ton of damage. It's not the way guard works. Guard baseline ability is absolute crap. One of the worst ways of spending 2 chi you'll ever find, okay? However, guard scales with vengeance, attack power, all that kind of good stuff. When we get to sort of, you know, crazy levels of vengeance, which isn't hard to reach in the game by any means, you're probably not going to find it too often in a 5-man, but that doesn't mean we ignore guard anyway, is when we get up to there, guard actually becomes insanely good. it scales crazily well. Something you need to bear in mind. A lot of people, let's take the Emperors. Okay, the Emperors were dancing. We're not taking any damage. We don't really have any vengeance. And what do a lot of classic newbie brewmasters do? I'm going to save my chi, and as soon as they come out of the dance phase, gonna pop a guard, bro. And then I've got this protection shield up while the healers get used to it. In theory, you're not actually doing anything crazy. Unfortunately, in practice, that guard is an absolute waste of chi, and you've not done anything. It's better to actually let those bastards hit you a couple of times, get some big vengeance, boom, then a big guard up there, because it scales so incredibly well. It really is an amazing ability that you should take advantage of, but be aware that with no vengeance, guard is shit. Absolute shit. So bear that in mind, okay? Scales very well. Guard on its own, not the best. Not the best. Something you need to bear in mind, and will come into play when you start planning out how to deal with certain abilities and encounters. The next thing I want to talk about is the Gift of the Ox. The Gift of the Ox. A lot of people just ignore this, especially people who aren't used to sort of environmental looking around. What is Gift of the Ox? Your hits actually generate healing to your sides. Okay? To your sides. They don't land on you. Your little healing spheres that only you can see. They're your special little flowers. They're your friends. And they're amazing sources of healing. Crazy sources. You'll actually see a lot of brewmasters have started the shimmy. We're shimmying from left to right. We're doing the tortilla dance. It's a party time every single time we do that. And that's because they're picking up their Gift of the Ox, healing spheres around them, and actually do a tremendous amount of healing. Some people will notice at the end of the fight when they've kind of blurred into auto-attack tank mode. A lot of us do this, especially if it's trivial content. We're like, oh, just mash my keys, and I'm not going to die, so whatever, YOLO swag. And we're just DPSing away. And then at the end of the fight, we suddenly see there's like 15 or something healing spheres around us, and we're like, oh, huh. I didn't realize I could heal myself for that much. And they are really an amazing source of healing. You need to take advantage of these guys. A lot of newbie brewmasters just consider maybe they're just crap, or they don't even see them at all, right? We don't see these speckled green orbs all over the damn place. A great defensive ability when your health starts to dip is actually to get the shimmy on and start picking up your own orbs, and you'll be self-healing yourself for a tremendous amount. Really important. I'm looking forward to doing the comparison tank video with the monk. Possibly going to win. Alright guys, that's me done. I hope that helped you out. Have a great day and take it easy.